So fast forward, when we were planning this evening's event, I believe it was AZYZ who said, let's do recent work. And I thought, well, that'll help. I mean, I don't want to talk about the hundreds of series and thousands of works I've done. So I decided to focus on my political work from 2016 to 2023. Now, if I step on anyone's political beliefs, I apologize ahead of time. But you will definitely get the idea of how I lean when you see these. Is there any way this bank of lights could be turned off? Because my work is very dark and in both senses of the word. And so I want you all to be able to see it. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay. I have done political work before. When the Berlin Wall went down, I did a series. When the Russians had their big to-do, this all took place in 89, 90. I did a whole series of works. Then there was the first Gulf War. I did work about that. Well, I did that for 2 or 3 years. And, it was interesting, but I felt that the work was reactive. It wasn't proactive. I was merely reporting events that had already happened. And I thought, so after that, I went on to my women's series and my men series and my men and women series. But 2016 happened. And suddenly the whole political arena, the whole political milieu is different. And I decided, this is grist for my mill. Here we go. So, first slide. Okay, this is not political work. This is an image of a production for the Washburn Theater. And it was called Turn of the Screw. What's the name of the play? Now, I'm sorry, I can't remember where I came up with the idea of the ship, but it resonated. And after that, I thought, oh my goodness, what have I stumbled onto here? So, next slide. Can you guys see these? They are really dark. These were the first 2 pieces. These were the first 2 pieces I did. Ship of Fools 1 and Ship of Fools 2. Now, if you're familiar with my work at all, you will recognize, that's thank you.
No, turn it back off. We're gonna label those.
Okay, you will recognize the Pandoras. You will recognize the figure coming out of the Jack in the Box. You will.
There you go.
Perfect. This is a theater now, right? I have used the building with the 2 little windows in a number of different pieces. What I decided to do was to examine, how we have gotten into this situation, how we are going to get out, and what are people doing about it. And as you can see, nobody's doing very much. In quite a few of these pieces, someone is pointing to something off in the distance. We have no idea what. People who are in trouble, drowning, starving, being killed, or being ignored. Where no one is steering the ships. The canvas, doesn't really catch much wind. There isn't really much going on. We're just sort of adrift in these boats. And I had a lot of fun researching how I wanted to paint water. And of course, there was no question but that everything would be very dark. I mean, go figure, it's me, right? Okay, next slide, please. This is Ship of Fools 3, and it's a much larger canvas. That's Larry. So I use friends and family as models quite often. And I came across this photo of Larry sitting, he was all dressed up. We were getting ready for an event. And he was sitting on a sofa, sort of looking back over his shoulder at somebody saying something, and the look on his face was priceless. So I decided I had to use him. Of course, there are the ubiquitous crows that always show up in my work. They're trying desperately to tell us what to do, but we're absolutely paying no attention. But that is also a sort of sly reference to crow's nest, which is up on the mast, where the sailor goes up to look for land. So the crow is up there in the crow's nest. Often there is a sort of sarcastic, ironic feel. For instance, this figure is taking a selfie. Very helpful, right? To the dilemma. Again, nobody's steering, nobody's accomplishing anything. I think that my primary goal here was to show that we weren't paying enough attention to what was starting to happen. Okay? This is one that was done somewhat later. It's called Ship of Fools Part 2.0. And here I was making a statement referencing the original Noah's Ark, but indicating what now is what's important to us. Not saving the planet, saving animals, doing things to help the climate. But the big cell tower, our technology is what is important to us now. There are no children, no animals, nothing. We're just trying to save our precious technology. And other people are trying to join this. They're not looking for other solutions. They're just going to try to sail away with the technology. You can see that Rome is burning over here. There is, I think in these pieces, or at least I hope there is, an apocalyptic atmosphere. Okay, next. Okay, this one, are you familiar with the, I think it's what would be called an epic poem, the Wreck of the Hesperus? And Captain, keeps saying, hey, we're fine, we can make it, we can weather the storm. And even his daughter, who is on board with him, said, Dad, that's not going to work. Oh, yes, it will, yes, it will. Well, they all end up dead, frozen and everything. So that's what this is about. It's, here's our cell tower, and it didn't save us. We have to do some other things about that. And we can't just say, oh, we're going to be okay, we're going to be okay. We have to probably take some action. This one is called Ship of Fools, Red Hat. And I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions on that one. The figure in the boat, female figure, I know I'm in the picture again, is trying on her red hat, and she's just thrilled with her new red hat. And as you can see, the sails are not connected very well. There's a storm coming, but she sure likes that red hat. Okay, next. This painting is called Ship of Fools, Ship of State. I have depicted soldiers, ghosts of soldiers from World War I. And over here, you can't see it very well, but one from World War II. And they are heartbroken at what's going on, and they are attempting to escape, to get somewhere else, because things are not going in a good direction. Here she is in a red hat again. The Jack-in-the-Box has flames in it. Things are burning from within. And the other one is called Ship of Fools, the Lotus Eaters. Now, Lotus Eaters is a term referring to people who pay no attention to what's going on around them. They just continue to live their luxurious lives. And as you can see, the ship is standing in the last puddle of water there is. And someone's lowering a bucket to that last bit of water. I've used this device several times. And it talks about, water is a pretty scarce commodity, and it's causing a lot of concern. Wars have been fought and are being fought over who controls the water. This name of the company that's both are giving these people a ride is called tours.com. And this ride is going down the river Acheron, which is a mythological place where things don't go too well. And they're touring, they're waving, they're taking photos of people on both sides of the river who are starving, have no home, have been nearly destroyed by war. And this guy, who's bending down to someone in the water who's drowning, he's handing him a business card. I'd like to do these little ironic gotcha things, you know, when you really see it. And one guy's playing music, and they're all pointing, oh, look at that, look at that. Absolutely no concern, just looking, okay? This is Ship of Fools, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. And we can see who's wearing the biggest red hat, and that's all I'll say. And of course, the boat is rusty, it's got cracks, our flag is torn, the Statue of Liberty is dead, but somebody's playing music on his big tuba. And again, people trying to, you know, get aboard, trying to be rescued, trying to be helped, appealing, and no response whatever. In fact, the figures in the back are, you know, get away, leave, don't bother us. And the white rabbit in this tea party, if you look, is the face of a prominent politician whose last name is McConnell. Okay, next. Okay, this one's called Ship with Fools. And you can see it's rusty. Again, very little water. And I'm beginning here to use a dead bird that's suspended from who knows where. And it is a symbol of apocalyptic times. You can't see it, but there are dead animals floating in the water. I do such cheerful work. And on the right, some of you may have seen this on Facebook, it's called TS Lemmings, and TS stands for the Tumult series, which is a newer series. And this has to do with everybody just keeps following no matter where it's going to lead. And it really isn't going to lead to a very good place. And somebody is pictured over there with no clothes, and it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference to the emperor with no clothes, or the emperor's new clothes, I guess is the way it goes. And of course, the skies are always stormy. The water is, when there is a lot of water, it's always, you know, agitating everything. Okay, next. Well, along came the pandemic, and I had to do something to address that. And I decided that, you know, we saw so many people on television and in photos and everything in their PPE, their white and blue or whatever color they were, in those outfits, all the medical personnel. And I decided that the virus was going to be what was coming out of the Jack in the Box this time. It sprung up out of nowhere. The horses refer to the four horses of the apocalypse. There's death on a pale horse. These are children, and you know, what kind of world are we going to leave them? This is the tortoise, and the whole world rests on the back of a tortoise in some cultures and beliefs. This piece is called C19, One Crow Sorry. And there's one crow up there. There are a lot of rhymes and myths about crows, and there the one crow sorrow, two crows joy, three crows a wedding, four crows a boy. It goes on, and there are a lot of different ones. So when I include crows, I'm very careful about how many I put into a painting, because that has a symbolism. And AZYZ had interviewed me about this painting right after I did it. Okay, next. This one is called something, well, it doesn't matter. It has to do with January 6th. And I think that it's obvious what my response was to that. The other one is called TS Advisors, and we're kind of this dead bird. We're not capable, evidently, of listening, of hearing what these crows are trying to tell us, what is on the horizon. We're just kind of there, deaf ears, nothing. Next. And then I created an altarpiece. You know, you go from one mood to the other. And this is at St. Thomas More Catholic Church in Manhattan. I was commissioned to do this when they did a complete renovation of the church. And I am, when I was first approached, I was, wow, this is wonderful. What an opportunity. I don't think the implications, certainly not the work involved, hit me until almost the end of how I had been entrusted to do this. And Larry and I went to the dedication of the church. It all had to be blessed, and it was all new again. And it was pretty moving. I'm still working on this piece and the bird piece in the corner there because of a breakdown in communication, I did them the wrong size. So I'm having to redo those. But other than that, it's finished. This is the Old Testament over here, Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, Abraham and Isaac and Moses. Up on the top are the four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and I used their symbols rather than just their faces. And of course, the nativity, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. Um, and when I was still working on it, I asked Father Frank if I could put a crow in it. I said, that's sort of my signature. And he said, oh, sure. I don't know why you couldn't. So I put one crow in the crucifixion. It's hard to see. But I thought that would be appropriate, one from sorrow. So that is my presentation.
Landscape.
Like
Your
here.
answer is landscape.
Oh, yes, thank you. Father Frank wanted this done so that it was in the Flint Hill. And at first, he wanted me to use contemporary clothing on the figures. And that was going to get really tricky. So we decided not to do that. But it is the Flint Hills. I even have the Flint Hills burning and in the back there. And then, of course, I had to think about the fact that the Flint Hills, the dirt's only about this deep. And the grass roots go way down through the rocks and everything. Well, if the dirt's only this deep, how is that cross going to be supported? If you can only put it into the ground that far. So I put limestone around the cross. I had to make something look logical there. Okay, other questions? Yes.
Awesome.
Sorry, it's not easy. Is this a picture of a painting, or is this a picture? Is this the painting, or are you painting at the actual church?
Okay, good question. This is the actual church. This is a huge wooden framework, and I did the canvases that were set in. Good question.
At first, I was like, I can't believe the wood, how you but yeah, so it's very beautiful. But I wanted to ask you about the Jack in the Box and the building. You said you used those as references. You said you use the Jack in the Box and the building in a lot of your paintings references. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Okay, the Jack in the Box, a lot of people have asked about that. I have used that motif for years and years. It has to do with things surprising us, things coming out of nowhere, things scaring us. Your turn will be in a minute. I used it with actual figures coming out. I've used it with a crow coming out, and of course the virus. It's really a very useful device. Sometimes it's huge, sometimes it's little bitty. Sometimes you have design elements that just work, and they're very adaptable. And it's, if you overuse it, then it just becomes boring, So I try to only use it when it has to involve a cat. So does that? Yeah.
The crucifixion, is it on? Is it on? Oh, there. The crucifixion section is actually almost the size of what the screen is there.
Oh, wow.
So that gives you an idea of scale of what else is up there.
That was big. We got risers, we borrowed some risers. And they're in 831, and so because I don't do ladders, and I didn't want to paint flat because that distorts, and so by having these risers, I could stand on them to paint way up there by putting the canvas clear down on the floor. But then as I had to move up or down the canvas then could be lifted up onto the riser too. I did a lot of moving around, and I tell you what, I could not have done this project without that guy. He built and stretched all of those canvases. He helped me move things around. He was fantastic. I really could not have done it without him. So, thank you, dear.
I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Let me see. May
Okay. I'm going to ask you about the process. Like when you decide on a painting, do you use photograph as reference? Or does everything come out of your memory?
That's a great question, and I have no problem answering it. I want my anatomy on my figures to be correct. So I use photo reference. I don't project onto the canvas. I don't use a photo in a projector and trace it. I don't do that. I still hand draw everything. But I do use a photograph. But the situations obviously come out of my head. So it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, your work is really awesome, and it works with the contemporary scenes and what is happening. But the way you use the analogy and the way you use each item in your painting has a very deep meaning. A lot of people, I think they have this impression that all your works are very dark. But it is dark, but like most of the satirical and irony is there. So our situations are not very bright. So we live in a very dark situation too, but we make the best out of it. So I think it's very relevant, and I think this presentation was very good, and giving people the idea of what you do, because this last work is an exception in what you have done so far, as I presume, but this kind of biblical work is very different from what you normally do, what you really enjoy to do. And automatically, your sense of humor, your sense of political satire, and your conscience or your awareness of the society is very, very important for artists to learn, especially if people are coming up. How important it is to take from who you are, what you are. And I think, I just had one more question. How long did it take you to come up with your own style of work?
Style is a tricky thing. People think they have to develop a style.
So what I mean is, I can see that if anybody looks at your work, they say, "What is Barbara?" That identity in the way you work, some people can call it style, but you have an identity that nobody can, it looks like Barbara's work. Everybody recognizes it automatically. So did you struggle a lot from when you started, or you came to a conclusion at one time, this is what I really want, this is the way I love to work?
Not consciously. I think, my work changed over the years from when I first started. But I always loved doing figurative work. And in my undergraduate work, I did figure studies and all that sort of thing. I love marrying, you might say, naturalism with a sort of surrealism, but I also love realism. I mean, if you've seen my flowers, my portraits, they're pretty realistic. I think my method of painting was what I developed rather than the style. The style came along with it.
So it came through the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How, since this is so large, how long have you been working on this?
Oh, the altar piece?
Yeah, since that's so large, how long have you been working on it?
Well, I was first approached in 2019,
Wow.
and it was to be a several-year project. Well, of course, we all know the pandemic hit. Everything came to a standstill. So, basically, I did all of this work, plus more. I mean, there were some other paintings that I did in conjunction with this. All the studies, all the drawings, everything that I did from January to September of 2023.
Wow.
So I was painting like a mad because oh, well, we still have the same date that we originally wanted for completion. But now you have 9 months instead of 3 years, but oh well. But I don't know, somehow I did it, and like I said, Larry but
Communication from you to the architects and back and forth.
there was no communication between me and the
There should have
architect.
been more. Yeah.
When everything was designed and planned, the artist was not at the table. So the sizes were not standard, nothing standard. And even Father Frank wasn't given all of the plans. So at the last minute, we discovered that the canvases were just going to be set in. We had originally thought they were going to have a small framework, a little border round in front of them. No, but we're not. So there was a real, this added to the competitions, but anyway, you know what? Artists are resourceful, and we can get things done when we want to. So I don't want to take the whole evening, guys. Any more questions? Let's get on to the next speaker.
We'll let you talk. Yeah, we like listening to you. We love what you do.
What here?
We love what you do,
Oh,
and we like to
Thank
hear you talk. My question, I don't need a mic. My question is, was there an altarpiece there before this there? So this was a naked, oh wow.
if all they had was a sort of drape, that's all they had. So this is all brand new. And it's beautiful now, it really is, the whole church is beautiful.
My last thing is, I'm so glad you added your crows, because that is your signature in your work. So it would have been, for me, kind of a misstep if they would not have let you put crows in this piece, such and such a large piece.
Thank you. Well, I didn't think about it until toward the end, and I thought, my name is on the back,
Right.
on all of the structures, the titles and my name, the date, everything, not on the front. I need one little indication that I had something to do with this. So, okay, I talked long enough. Yeah.
What's the significance of crow in your work?
Crows, let's see,
In
how
your
much time
5
do
minutes.
we
You
have?
get 5 minutes.
All day.
Sorry.
Crows are a whole different thing. I love crows. but they're very, very rich in symbolism in
Yeah,
many
yeah.
cultures.
In our culture,
Mhm. And so I love that different cultures bring different interpretations to them. In our culture here, people don't like crows. Well, crows are wonderful.
yeah, very intelligent too.
Great, crows and ravens both. And yes, they are two different birds, same family, but different birds. So, come on, guys, it's somebody else's turn.
No.
I'll have to start charging if I don't
Lord,
take that long.
we have no money. We broke here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay. Yes, I will. Just let me get you ready to go. Okay. Did you see what I just did?
Okay, thank you so much, Barbara, for your presentation tonight. I learned so much from your presentation. Wow, you're amazing, truly. And we have another amazing artist speaking tonight, and that's Pradeep Bangalore. Pradeep, I'm not gonna mess your name up, we already talked about that earlier. Pradeep's work is intricate, beautiful, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So Pradeep.
Thank you, Zandra. My name is Pradeep Bangalore, and I feel very honored to be presenting my presentation along with Barbara. I feel very honored. Thank you. It's going to be a little. This is my introduction to my journey in my art. I'm a visual artist. I did both traditional artist and
Use the mic. Switch it on.
Is it on?
pardon me. I use both traditional art, traditional methods of art, and also
Use your mic.
computer generated and digital art. art.
Keep it close.
Can do this.
Yes.
This is my thought about what art means to me. I can do it. I believe every mind is a temple of creativity from the inspiration through the lenses of vision, both inner dreams and worldly reality. I'm an immigrant artist to US. About 40 years of my life was spent in my country back in India. And I'm from southern India, and I had a different language that I spoke, and I had to adjust to the current language in which we got. This is how I feel about accents, and hope everybody can understand. This is a small introduction about my childhood back in India. And at an early age, I started drawing and painting, and I competed in the local painting competitions when I was like 6 years. Until 12 years old, I started winning local art competitions. And when I was in high school, I was interested in science and technology. To wash the heaviest garment, we, along with my cousin, we built a telescope from scratch, including grinding the lenses for the telescope. And somehow we were able to wash heaviest garment in India, local situation. And also I was, we have many festivals in India, and we are idol worshippers. So every festival, one of the festivals is called Ganesha Festival, and I used to make small traditional clay figures using mold and clay, and we used to paint them. That's how I got interested in sculpture. And then after my high school, everything changed. One of my interest into the art world came from many of my uncles who had photographic studios, and I used to work there in the evening, go touch up the black and white pictures. And back then there was no digital pictures. We used film to take pictures. So it used to be, it was a situation in the darkroom where they processed their own prints. So what used to happen is if there was any dust in the negative, that used to be duplicated in the print that used to be on, that was printed. And they would ask me to touch up those blemishes on the pictures. So that's how I got interested in art. Right? So these are some of the projects that I handled back in India. I used to design and produce trophy awards for some of the local heroes. And these are some of the murals that I was involved in producing them. And
Sorry.
And then I got introduced in my master. This is my master work, who is a national award winner in India. And under him, I worked for like 3 years. I was involved in many projects like this is a museum project where he was a artist at the museum to make the exhibits. So he gave me like a freelance job at the museum, so that I was involved in doing all the clay sculptures for the dinosaurs, and I also worked at his studio. One of the bronze sculptures that he had, he was commissioned. At the same time, after I used to do oil and candles in those days. I'm a self-taught artist. I used to, back in India, we don't have many art classes in my city back then. And I was so shy, I would never want to go to school because I thought I am not up to it. So I would buy art books and I would learn art myself. And these are acrylics on panels, and those are highlight canvas. All these are commissioned work, and that's a reproduction from an old painting. I did not create it, but I painted it. Then something happened that I did not expect. I always hated computers because I wanted to be a traditional artist and never wanted to go into the world of computer or digital art. And then all of a sudden something happened. I just gave up, and I was very much interested in, like, after I saw what computers can do, I just got so much into it. I just gave up my traditional art and just dive into digital art. And then I joined the advertising agency, these are works at the agency that I did. These are some of the work that I created using vector art. It's like Adobe Illustrator. That's how I created all this art. These are office stationery and some event promotion things. After while I was working in India, I fell in love with my wife, and she was sick. And we got married, and we moved to US. That's how I landed up here. Then for quite some time, I was not able to work because I did not have work visa here, and almost like about 5 years of my life, I did not do anything. And I was taking care of my daughter who was born here. And then I thought I should do something about my career, so I joined Vancouver Film School in 2012, and I spent a year of my life in Canada learning 3D digital art and computer animation and modeling. This is a shot from one of my projects that I did there. Everything here is virtual, nothing is real. These are digital sculpture, and it's digitally painted, and they are called digital skins applied to them. And I used two of the major industry standard software. One is ZBrush, and another one is called Maya animation. This is my project at the Vancouver Film School. This is like my show reel that after I got out of the school, this is my show reel. What you see is the model that I created in the software. And those are the texture map, and some of the maps that are assigned to this wireframe model. That's how the modern visual effects are most probably created nowadays in the films that we see. These are some of the what I can say practice models that I did before I came up with my final project. And these are all 3D models that can be now 3D printed and can actually go it in your hand. After I came back from Vancouver Film School back to US, I ended up in the US. That's where I lost all my hopes. Because I could not leave my family and go to California. That's where most of the visual effect artists end up joining major film studios. But I did not have that opportunity, and I had to come up with something. And then I read a small article about desktop lasers, and I had my intuition to create something out of that, because right from childhood I was very fascinated with paper crafts, and this is what I changed my profession into doing something with the lasers. At the beginning of my laser journey, what happened was I just wanted to do something that's going to be different from other creations, creativity kind of thing. So what I wanted to show was my ability to make solids and whites in the paper and layer them. Only the shadows can create what the message that I wanted to include in my creation. So these are all just plain white paper layered together. The lines of the art are created by the shadows from from the paper cutting. That's what makes it pop out as 3D art. And at that time, I was very happy with what I was doing, and I started improving on this technique. The process of me making this laser cut layered art is my own, I can say my own creativity. And it's a very tedious process. And what you see in this video is all the page numbers here are the number of layers that's been used to make that kind of that art piece. And each layer of the art is going to be cut in particular color of the art of my choice. Just a brief introduction of what my art, the process that's behind my art, what happened. This is the concept sketch that I do, and then I will take it into a vector graphic software. Then I have to trace each line in this sketch into the software, and I manipulate them in the software so that I can get the particular curve that I want to be cut in the paper that I will be using. Then I will, at the same time, I will create a color swatch so that I can buy the particular color that I want from the craft store. Then I get, once I get all the colors from the craft store, I will align them and see how it matches and how it goes. Then I will cut each layer of the paper corresponding to the colors that I have previously planned. And that's the end result that comes. On the whole, the whole process may sometimes take a month for one of the, just to make one piece. And once I am through with everything and I finalize my work, I can make multiple copies of them. Or I can change the color scheme and I can make it look different. This is my small gallery where I'm showing some of my works here. And, you can just see like what the color that I try to manipulate in my work. This is a tribute to Aaron Douglas because I was a featured artist of Aaron Douglas Art Fair in 2022. So I thought I should make one of his portraits in my laser work. And at that time, this is the very first portrait that I tried using laser layer art. And for the picture, for the final picture, I took the reference from one of the paintings from National Portrait Gallery. And after taking the reference, I manipulated in different steps so that I can finally reach the colored layers that I wanted to design in my laser work, and each line here is a curve that has been drawn on the computer, so that each curve can be cut using laser. And the background that I chose for this portrait is also the style of Eric Douglas he uses for his murals. Once I started with all doing the portrait, I thought I should do some more portraits. This is the final. This is the final representation of Aaron Douglas, and that's Einstein. And I'm also very much interested in animal portraits, and I started doing animals, and I started using colored texture papers for making my laser art. I sometimes use photographs for reference, and so that I can trace them in the software that I use, and I can make the layers separate, and I can cut them in laser to very intricate thin lines, and that's how that was made. And this one is totally pure imagination. How I drew it on a paper, and then I started manipulating it, and then I digitized it, and then I made the laser. This is another one. This is a collaboration with a photographer from Topeka. I took his permission to make it into laser layer, and it came out really good. Thank you. This is also a collaboration from another photographer. This is a scene from the coast of Vancouver, and I digitized it, and this is a very intricate work and a lot of thin lines. This one took me almost two months to come to the final stage of production. Nowadays, so as I told earlier, I'm into portraits, and this is a different kind of portrait, because I wanted to do natural colored portraits, and this one I tried using a different color totally to represent as a subject in the picture. This is something that I want to say about the modern AI, artificial intelligence. Nowadays, I'm trying to I'm trying to make art with the use of artificial intelligence, because they make my work easy. What happens in the artificial intelligence is you can give the command to separate the layers while making the picture that I want. And it can spit out so many iterations so that I can decide on which one to select and which makes my work easy. And this is portrait of an heart in cubism, and I had the intention of representing our flag, USA flag, along with the national word. And that's how it turned out. I'm also trying to be doing abstracts. And this is one of my imagination of something like a neuron working in your brain, trying to imagine a face forming and expressing itself. I want to do a series of this, so I'll try to do that. And that's the portrait of a tiger, face of a tiger in of And I am also trying to use different materials by using my laser layer art. And this is some of the results of what I'm trying to do with the layers of wood that we use in this project. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, please use the word.
So, first I just wanted to say, I first saw your first presentation here. And I just wanted to say that the slides that you put together were really, really great in expressing like some of the questions that we had about the steps that took you there. So I just want to say kudos because it was a really great slides. But my question is really surrounding like the difference between the birch when you're doing wood and when you're doing paper. Are you using the same like type of laser, or is there different lasers?
It's the same laser that I use, but what I can control the laser so that how it burns into different materials. For papers, it's very delicate. I cannot use too much power with the laser. For the wood, it almost needs 100%. And it's a very tedious work with the wood because it produces a lot of smoke. And it also needs, after you cut the wood, you need to take the burn mark on the wood away. You have to sand it. And then it's a little extra process, but with the paper, I don't need to do that, but it's very delicate. Handling the paper, I can do very fine cuttings in paper, but with the wood, I cannot do really cutting because the burning on the edges, it won't withstand very small.
Do you find you have more like issues with it breaking with the wood if you go too small rather than paper?
Yeah. Because also, what happens with the birch, Baltic birch plywood that I use, it's not controlled, like they don't make the wood very very consistent in every place. Like if I take a wood, suppose if I want to cut the wood, take 12 by 12 inches of Baltic birch. The adhesive, the glue that they use to layer the plywood, in some part, the adhesive is going to be thick and the laser will not cut through the adhesive. It's a little bit weak. It's a tricky thing to cut wood.
Thank you. I just want to say, as always, it's really awesome.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay, we are going to ask Zandra to present her work, and after that, if there's time, I will present, and then we will talk about other artists. So, thank you for being patient, and let's move on. Zandra, you want to say something about your work?
Okay. All right, I have to following PRADEEP, following you, my dear Barbara. I have very little to say. I'm gonna keep this kind of brief because we are getting kind of long. Most of you guys know me, but I want to tell you a little bit. I'm a mom, grandmother, that's my pride and joy things. I'm an artist, but what's most important is I create art about historical information that I wish that I had learned as a kid, because I didn't really get that as a kid. And I really didn't like history because it focused so heavy on colonialism, and it focused so heavy on slavery. And it was like always in your face, always in your face. And it's hard to carry that burden with you all the time. That when you walk outside and look like me, there's a problem. So that's what my art is. Someone next slide that. All right. So next, okay, well, let me explain. I was in the military for 24 years. And then of course I had my mother too. So I kind of did my life in reverse, and I got married about 9 years ago. So, next slide. All right. So this is when my art kind of took off. A lot of you have seen this mosaic work, but what this is me not wanting to deal with traditional skin tones in my work. So any other color but brown, white, or pinkish was where I was going. Everybody asked me what this is about. I love it, it's very detailed, and it's also where my art took off, and I kind of understand what I wanted to do. But it was because I didn't want to deal with the identity of being African American in the United States of America. So, with that said, we'll move on. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but that's what it's about. So we had some transitions. One time I was here and I did a little study of Bessie Coleman, and Barbara said, you should do more of that. It was really the first time that I did African American skin tones in my paintings. So, you can hit the next slide, so we'll talk about some of those. So I not only did them, I kind of took off with them. So I'm doing a lot of work now because of quite a few shows coming up. That's the Bessie Coleman that I brought to work here. And it was kind of my permission and okay. It's okay to look like that. Okay, it's okay. It's okay to paint. It's sad that I feel that way, but it's okay. And I also learned that I think I found my purpose with my art. I'm such a baby in the room here with all you other people on this panel here. You guys have been painting a lot longer than I. You've got long careers. I'm really early on in my artist career, as I said, doing my life in reverse. But I'm really proud of these works because I learned about history. She sat as dedicated to, oh my God, blanking in my brain. Anyway, but it's all about African American history that did those first things, and it's all about people that did the first things. And then one of my favorite portraits up here is this little boy who scored. Because if you've ever seen a child who makes the basket the first time, you'll never forget it. Because that facial expression is wide and true. And it's the innocence that I wanted to capture and feel and kind of give myself a break from the muck. That's why I was also moved by your work, Barbara, because you talk about the satire in your work. Because we're in trouble and we keep reliving the same history over and over and over and over again and learning zero. And the more I delve into the history of things, the more I realize that the purpose is not to hide it, but to embrace it. And that's what these works mean to me. And so that's pretty much what I want to talk about. I just wanted to say I have a couple of shows coming up, but that's neither here nor there. I really wanted to say tonight that I'm proud to be a Black woman. So I've grown in my art because for a long time, I would not have been able to say that. So thank you.
Any questions? Yeah, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, well, the girl in the middle is the first, when you look out the window as a kid, and you see the playground and all that, that's my childhood first. And I would look out the window, I'll tell you a bit of the story, my dad was a truck driver. And so, that over to the years. So,
Like my father was a truck driver. And so what I used to do as a little kid is look out the window in anticipation of him coming home. And so he would go out and it'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and I'd go in the window and I was supposed to be in bed. And I'd peek out the window and he'd always flash the lights for me. So for me, it's a first core memory for me. The little girl in the window.
Is that a World War II Tuskegee fighter pilot?
It is the first, that's the first Black fighter pilot. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yep. He's going to be on display in the Burbank along with Tara Scarlett. She's the first cosmonaut. Obviously, that's Amelia Earhart, Bessie Coleman. Somebody please tell me the woman who said that is so terrible. Thank you, Rosa Parks. I feel so stupid. But I get a little shy in front of this about my own work, so it's kind of brave me to stand up here and tell you these things. But that's what those works are. They all be in there. A couple of more works that I did, but there's going to be the first, the first astronaut to walk, Victor, the first Black guy who might walk on the moon. They keep talking about it, but I'm not sure he's going to make it. But that's the next guy that's supposed to go up there. So those are they will be in the Burbank. And then I'm going to show, March 1st. You can go to the next one, please. We're going to finish it. So a little bit about what I'm doing here. I'm doing 2 mini shows. I Feel Your Pain. This is Blossoming Legacies, which is going in the Burbank. This is one of my pieces that is actually in the coffee bar right at the moment. But I keep finding my way around different artistic things. I'm kind of trying to feel what I want to do. So an emerging artist is definitely where I'm at the moment. I'm not sure exactly. I know history is a big part of it. But anyway, so the stuff that was in there, that's a picture of Malcolm X in the background, faded out part. You can hit the next one. And it's March 1st at the Burbank. And then of course you guys have seen that painting. And this is going to be down at Barney Safarinas, and it's going to be a show called Generations, where it's going to deal with thinking about how things pass through generations, whether that be through music or legacy, but that's going to be that show. Yeah. Thank you.
That is the one that you had brought.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfinished. It is gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, that and the guy in the background is Joseph Douglas, who's an American violinist, Frederick Douglass's grandson. So that's why it's so twofold to me, because the more I dig, the more history I find. And I don't want to have any other little kid wait till they're almost 60 to find out about Joseph Douglas. So hit next, please. PRADEEP, there's one more. And then this, in case I didn't have enough to do, is the Juneteenth celebration that I'm working on, and with a group of up in Kansas City, and it's called the Red Velvet Affair. And I learned about African American afternoon teas. Didn't even know that was a thing. So, but basically, just to keep things going and to keep learning is where I'm at. Any more questions?
did you think that romance?
Okay, so no. Okay, I didn't paint that. So Pradeep and I had a little bit of a discussion about AI, and Mid-Journey drew that picture for me. So, which is a great thing. So Mid-Journey is one of the AI programs that you can use to put a prompt in and spit out something. But the technology, like I was talking to Pradeep earlier, it does spit things out for you, but it is still learning, and it's not always great. Like, you know, sometimes you get like hands that have like 3 fingers, you know, it's kind of, you know, then you gotta go play with it. But in a hurry, if you're trying to do some copy work or whatever, it can work out for you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm interested in the fact that in the earlier pieces, everything was about flight, astronauts, pilots. Can you address that for us, maybe?
I can. Well, everything was about first pilots and flight because I'm looking and hoping to inspire young children or whoever, younger people, none of the kids, to pursue their dreams. And usually that takes off for you because in your head, it's usually like you have this grandiose idea and have no real way of understanding how you're going to get there. But through flight, I mean, all of these people who had struggles, you know, they faced a lot to get there. But in their career, it took off, which is why there's flight in there. Any questions?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Are you gonna talk?
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of shy to talk after such 3 great artists. So I will just sit down here and not show my face, and you just see what I have on my computer. Is that okay?
We all had to get up
You
there.
don't get up in front and talk to us, man. I can push your buttons.
No, yeah, I have too many buttons to push, so yeah. The thing is, you know me, and most of my works are in different places, so that's why it's difficult to hold on. Oh, yeah, true. Take it then. Is there in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so most of my works are on my website, and so I really have to guide you. And so, is this slide going on? Okay. So most of my, I do very different kinds of work. I've done 3D painting, metaverse, video art, text art, installation art, digital painting. So really, I'll try to make it as short as possible. So you can see these are some of my digital work, all done on computers. My background was drawing and painting. I've done a master's in drawing and painting, and I've done what you call another master's in art education. So these are some of my digital work, all done on computers, and there are different people. For example, this is James Joyce. He's one of my favorite artists. So, artwork from the past. My undergraduate work, you can see that it has actual painting, like really big 3 by 6 feet, and you can see these are really on-site work. So I come from a very traditional background, and then I also taught myself computer from scratch, zero. So these are some of my 2D work that I've done. These are cutout, wood cutout, painting. These are like 20 feet by 20 feet by score painting come from Indian tradition. And then these are installation work that I did when I came to Washburn. I did a lot of work against terrorism, a lot of political work, and you can see like I did a lot of cosmic work with nebula and other things. So my work really goes in various directions and very difficult to put it into one area. These are some of my video work that I did, talking about mind, memory. Sorry about that. You know why the sound is not coming. But so I'm just going to skip. You can go to my website. There are tons and tons of work, ranging from what you call, and these are called photomation, using photography and animation. So some of the interesting thing is like these are like bubbles that I use photograph and animation to create. And so you get that impression because I cannot go through. There are many types of work here. I do what you call, each one has different methods. These are the cosmic work. These are my pen and ink work. So you can see that these are all done in pen and ink. They are called, this is against evolution when they were into 2006, I think. There was a big debate about evolution. And most of my works are political. So I just call this design doctor because against, people trying to impose in school system, the aspect of against science. So this is all the mind, and it reminds me of Goya's work, and I'm like going crazy, but I'm not that crazy. No, I did this work. I think it was at the lecture, did I do it? Or somewhere I did, and I sold most of my work, and these are against politicians. These are called squarehead. So all the politicians are squarehead, and like making fun of them. So I did like close to 50 or 60 pen and ink work, and somehow because all of them got sold, like lost interest, and they would hardly ever went back to it. So which is counterproductive because sometimes you need money. Then I created something called sand toning. I got tired of what do you call? These are drone work. This is my sand toning. I created a process with black sand, and I use black sand to create these artworks. So you can see that whole landscape could be done very quickly with just pouring black sand, and I created my own sealing method to control. Those are small ones. I also did large ones, like maybe not very big, because controlling sand is kind of difficult. This might be like 16, 12 by 16 or something like that. So black sand method was very successful. This is called the tornado, approaching tornado, living in Kansas. So I want to move on. Like I said, I did a lot of work, both 2D, digital work, these are all digital work, and animated 3D modeling. So you can see that I make fun of things. This is philosophical work against Descartes of the mind split body. So I have all kinds of work. So I want to move on to what you call I've done a lot of work in all kinds of processes, and let me talk about my recent work. These are installation work. This is against environment. This is a flame in the tip of a coffin, and these are twigs with water droplets. So these are my text artwork. I just want to show 3D painting quickly because I did a lot of work in 3D painting. So these are, and you can see one work right in front. There's a work there. You can see these are made out of 3D cut-out strip canvases. And I did all this work. I had a show in Argentina, and in 1 month I created more than 60 pieces of work. This is during the COVID, and I think Barbara has one piece. And this is like a boat made totally out of painting canvases. So my recent work, let me go back to recent work. These are metaverse work. What do you call? I did against Trump. This is the tweeting that he would do. And this was Alexa, and you could talk and say, hey Alexa, what is Trump's latest tweet? And it would answer back. So this was a artificial intelligence in sound. And then I gave a lecture on artificial intelligence 6 years ago, and everybody was kind of confused what AI was at that time. So then I started getting into text. So these are my text work, and I use text. These are text for science and archaeological findings. And this is a text in Bengali. Then I have Japanese, Chinese, and other things. And then this is called Stream, homage to, what do you call it? Sorry, it's not working. So, this is homage to Edward Monk. This is in Bengali, some text made, page made out of total text. This is saying here. This is the what do you call it? Teeth, and this is nose. So I use a lot of interesting ways of making text into this against January 6th. I did a work, and this is when I take this works. But I don't think it's going to work. Yeah. So I'm going to move on, and so I have a lot of different types of work. Let me go in. I'm trying to do as quick as possible. So nowadays I'm doing a lot of AI work. Unfortunately, it's not. Okay. So these are a lot of my AI work, both of political, some are political. Yeah. And I'm working with this is called Abbey Road.
I like this.
So these are sorry.
Can you close the white box so we can see?
But there's music to it.
These are created, but not necessarily created.
Now, this is created only in artificial intelligence. Then what I do is I add music to it, making fun of the politicians.
Yeah. They were with artificial intelligence, or not.
These are made by AI. What I do is I collect them, and I have different types of work, spiritual work. This is talking about transmigration of soul. I don't know why this sounds like and there's music to it. So I do a lot of here, and the last one that I want to show you is basically the one that I'm doing recently. And that is on microbiome. I'm talking about the body. So, I don't know whether y'all can see where the sound is not working. I've created those. So these are microbiomes that is in your body and your gut. And these texts are, the images are created using AI. Then I transfer it into 3D modeling and animation. Is it making sense? So I've done 3-4 versions of this and using Indian music and sound. So any questions? So these are on my website. These are types of work that I do. And I'm also in Instagram. And I showed you the Instagram thing. Let me see if I can just show very quickly in the Instagram. Here we come with the music. So this is like, you got it. Taylor Swift controversy. Okay, so I think there are many ones I've done politically, I've done on what do you call, quite a lot. I did politically on the dictatorship and making fun of the Congress.
I love that.
The minions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's kind of very funny. This is the politics that's going on. So, any question? I have done a lot of futuristic work also. Like this is what you call Darwin, thinking about the evolution, what has happened to us
about robots. So it's kind of funny things I've done. Any questions? Anybody has?
So how do you make that? Do you just put in an idea and then?
Yeah, I tap in the ideas. For example, this is about the brain.
And then it gives you these things or?
Yeah.
What's the software that you use?
I use Midjourney and then there are some AI
Yeah.
mix, the other software that are there. And I create these kind of ideas. So you can go to Instagram and find about the mind, the body, the tongue. So my belief is in Hinduism, Buddhism. Okay, I think I should stop and let other people do their presentation. Any questions? I can show my face.